yeah. I won't eat them. I love you.
Real long still?
You know, it makes it a little harder, but oh.
Ed,
Yes, Ray.
just making sure everything's good tonight.
You're good. You're good to go this time.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're going to start.
Okay, I think everybody's here. So I'll call to order the Wickliffe City Council meeting of September 28th, 2020. Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Present.
Jaworski,
Matt, you're on mute.
Here. Thank you.
Koski,
Here.
Levon,
Here.
Sakis,
Here.
Saloto.
Here.
Okay, approval of council minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bogo, seconded by Councilman Sakis to approve the minutes of the September 14th council meeting as presented. Discussion. Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Reports and communications from the mayor, safety director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. We are still trying to obtain a government Zoom account, which for some reason cannot be done online. Sandy has been calling them almost weekly with little to no response. I know we're using Ed's account now, but trying to get that switched over. So we have one dedicated for the city. Most legislation you see on tonight is regards to the CARES Act. While I still believe this act is irresponsible spending by our federal government, we will be spending all the funds received on safety service salaries, vehicles, and at the next meeting, we'll have legislation on for a small business grant to help our small businesses in the city, many of which continue to struggle. The majority of street striping has been completed for the year along the main roads. I know folks were asking about that last week. They were behind a bit. There's still a few like turn arrows, et cetera, that need to be finished up by hand probably next week. I want to, thanks to Joe, one of the owners of Sweetberry, who pointed us in the direction last year to apply for a grant through the Cleveland Indians for improvements to one of the baseball fields, and that's currently being worked on. The community center will be opening in the evening only, starting on the 12th, mainly following gym guidelines, and our recreation director may speak more on that as well. We're exploring the cost to convert one of the basketball courts at Gindra to futsal, it's called. It's like a mini soccer. This was recommended by the Parks and Rec Commission. So once we have a cost for that, it will be added to the budget for next year for further discussion. And I know some folks are still upset about leaf pickup, but we're now looking forward to more road repairs this fall. Service Director Strausser is planning to borrow a crack sealing machine, which we typically do, to be operated by our guys in addition to what we're bidding out. I feel we should entertain the purchase of a machine next year. And even with that, it takes more guys to run it, possibly bid out grass cutting at the parks, or at least some of the parks, for a couple of years to really focus on road repair to get caught back up. That's all I've got.
Mayor, I have a quick question. The futsal, did you say that it was a specific park? Did you say Gindra or?
Well, I said Gindra because it has to be fenced in, ideally. So like Inahar, for example, wouldn't work unless we actually built a fence around the court.
Okay, I agree. I didn't know if we had determined a specific or the Parks and Rec Commission, if they recommended a specific park at this point.
I don't, to be honest, I don't know if they did. I know Ron and I were talking earlier about Gindra. I mean, we can explore other parks, certainly. It's mostly, there's not a huge cost to it. The biggest cost is the man hours, right? And this would be something that'd probably be done in the spring, but once we know what the cost is for the nets and whatnot, and how much time it would take, I'd certainly welcome any feedback if we should put it at, say, Orlando or at Colby, for example.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for the mayor, safety director? Thank you, Mayor. Reports and communications from the director of law.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I have no report this evening.
Any questions or comments for the law director? Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Communications from council president. I do not have a report. Amendments or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to administrators. Police Chief Ice.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of things since we last met, crime-wise, that is. Armed robbery at the Quality Inn. Three black males robbed another black male who was spending time with a prostitute in the hotel. The prostitute was actually part of the robbery scam. We have her under arrest, or had her under arrest. Our detectives are still working on that. We had a rape and assault also at the Quality Inn. We had a couple of cars stolen, one stolen on North Elmwood and one on Ridge Road. Both these cars were unlocked and had the keys in the car. So there's a group of folks, mostly on the west side, over in the southwest, like Brunswick, Strongsville area, that are entering cars that are unlocked and with the keys in them and taking them, and they sell them for $1,000 to somebody to use in some other criminal activity. So just another reminder that everybody should, make sure your car is locked. Don't leave your keys in there. I have this conversation every year for the last 35 years, but it still continues on. We had a road rage incident a few days ago. Two guys got involved in it. And one guy shot at the other guy's car. We have arrest warrants for him. We'll be picking him up shortly. Unfortunately, we had a suicide on Saturday with a handgun. And also, I'd like to call your attention, the mayor had mentioned this already, but ordinance 2020-45 and 2020-46. Those are 3 police vehicles that we did not anticipate purchasing this year, but because of the CARES money, we were able to purchase those, which will help us going into the future. Hopefully we'll get another year out of some of the other. Typically we rotate through cars every 3 years. Hopefully these extra cars will get us an extra year out of a couple of the ones that we have in the fleet. That's all I have this evening, Mr. President.
Any questions or comments, Chief? Thank you, Chief Ice. Fire Chief Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. We were fortunate to swear in a new full-time firefighter this past week. Dominic Monastra, actually his first full day with us was this past Sunday. He was a part-time firefighter with us previously, that we welcome him. Last couple of weeks, we've been working really hard on the CARES Act, working through the guidance to make sure that we're following all the guidance. We have a 3-step process in place so that we make sure that we're utilizing funds appropriately and properly. And it's worked out quite well for all of us. Other than that, we're just running a lot of EMS calls. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Any questions or comments for the Fire Chief? Thank you, Chief Powers. Finance Director Doles.
Thank you, Council President. I do not have any report tonight.
Any questions or comments for the Finance Director? Thank you, Ms. Doles. Engineer Formica.
Thank you, Council President. Construction on Sun Avenue was supposed to start up today, just to do the asphalt resurfacing. All the residents or the businesses have been notified. We had a little pre-construction meeting for that. The Homewood Drive improvements contract is being prepared right now. I don't have their schedule as to when they plan on starting, but I will by the next council meeting. And our application is in with the county for our Lakeland Boulevard project for phase 1. And I just got an email from the county this afternoon. So it's all, they're reviewing it. So that's all I have right now.
Any questions or comments for the city engineer? Thank you, Mr. Formica.
Thank you.
Service Director Strouser.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, as the mayor touched on, the street striping was all done last week, except for the handwork is all left to do. And he also touched on Colby 1. We're working with that $5,000 Cleveland Indians grant to get the make some upgrades to the Colby 1 field. It's going good so far, but this rain's going to set us back, I'm sure. So, but we'll see how that goes. Also, I just wanted to let you know that we're starting on the generator replacement at the pump station that was paid for with money from the NOPEC grant to upgrade the generator at the pump station. And also we ran into a sewer issue on 296th Street that we're going to have 300 feet of the sewer lined, so 300 feet of the sanitary sewer lined. But we are able to cover that with the amount that we had budgeted in our sewer repair fund this year. And besides that, Pete said about they're going to be grinding Sun Avenue tomorrow, hopefully, if the weather holds up. And that's about all I have.
Any questions or comments for the service director? Thank you, Mr. Strauser. Building Commissioner Sack. Ray, you gotta unmute yourself.
How's that?
Good.
All right. I just have a few things to touch on. We have two more lots that are two more starts for new houses on Robindale. The one house had to get a variance for the side yard. Also, we're very busy with the permits this time of the year. Also with sewers, a lot of sewer permits. The new software, that's still in the works. It's not completely there yet. And I know the mayor wants me to switch over by the end of the month, and that's not possible yet. We're still, doing the Franklin system and also the new software. The glitches that we have, we get it to them and they get back with Patty within a pretty good time slot. And the third thing I have is you should have got a memo from me regarding some site and grading plans, deposits, and also some fees, if you could put that in appropriate committee.
Ray, did you have did you have a specific ordinance?
140, chapter 14604 and 14603.
Okay, we'll put chapters 14603 and 14604 into the Legislation and Welfare Committee.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Hey, Ed, if I can speak on that for a moment, and Ray, I'm not sure if you saw my email in response to that. My initial thought was if there's difficulties back and forth and tracking people down and fixing errors in regards to these site plans and grading fees, we need to reevaluate the process. And I'm not sure if that's you and Pete or you and the Planning Commission, but simply raising the fees isn't going to fix the problem. If there's a problem of communication or workflow, I'd like that to be addressed. I mean, again, you can't just raise the fees and that's going to magically change the process. So if we could just have that conversation while we're discussing it, I think that's appropriate.
John, that's a deposit. It's not an actual fee, though. That's all it is a deposit. And if there's no issues, it gets returned back to the resident. So I think that's what we're trying to say is I've asked Ray to check on what other cities are charging for the deposits. And if we're way below everybody else, it's causing way more problems for us to try to track the person down, then we should raise it what the deposit should be. If we are high or above them, then I agree with you, then we need to change the process. So I think as at this point in time, we're waiting for Ray's gonna do some due diligence and figure out what we are compared to other cities. And once we figure that out, we can have this meeting and find out whether we need to increase the deposit at all. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. But then Ray, if you're checking into what other cities are charging in terms of fees, ask how they're handling the workflow.
Well,
and hopefully mitigating errors as well.
We have a concise pay on our application, what we need on the site plans. If they don't come to that after Pete and I review them, we have to go back to them and Pete has to charge it more also on that. But a lot of it is not on our end, it's on their end. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Seg. Any questions or comments for the building commissioner? Councilman Jaworski.
Ray, you had mentioned the computer system and the glitches that you're having. Is it a case where you guys are able to predict some of these things, or is it just Patty's typing something in and all of a sudden the problem comes up? I mean, can you kind of explain what these issues are?
That's exactly what comes up. Like today, she's putting at end of the day all the money's in, and the new system came up with $1,500, and the correct amount is $2,130.28. So we sent an email to them, and they corrected it. They were still working on the numbers, and they corrected everything that we had. But she still has to enter it into the Franklin system and this new system to keep this. This has got to be 100% correct before we can go to it, this new system. So that's where the time is consumed by Patty doing both softwares, and you know, it's got to be on the money. It's got to be right when we turn our money in.
I can certainly understand that. And we don't want any bad numbers coming into the system because that just makes it bad numbers
I mean,
spitting out.
They're
Do you
they're
guys-
very helpful, and they get the glitch done for us within a pretty good, reasonable time. So I mean, it's just a working process to make sure all these different things that we go through to make sure they're right, and then we could switch it over.
Right. I guess the question then becomes, at what point in time do you think that there will be no more glitches, or how will you determine that you're ready to switch things over?
We just have to run it out a little bit more, I feel.
Are the glitches becoming less at this point in time?
At this point, yes, they are.
Well, good.
'Cause there's different things that come up that that we've done, and they don't have it in their system, and that's how we find a few, and not every city runs the same.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Councilwoman Sloto?
Right. So Ray, just to get back on that topic for one more second. So I agree, you're having to run two systems at the same time to sort of double check the work of the new system. And I know the new system's been around for a while now. So I guess I'm just asking, what is your prediction on how long this is going to take? Because it seems to me that it's costing a lot of money for Patty. I mean, additional hours for Patty. Doesn't it take more time for her to constantly run these two systems?
It's time consuming for her, but I mean, we're just gonna have to run it out till we feel comfortable with it. I mean,
Okay. All right.
each line item has their has to be correct on everything.
I mean, it sounds kind of crazy that they haven't been able to fix the glitches yet.
Well,
I mean,
some of them haven't come up yet with other cities. I imagine that's what I'm. I mean, it'll be a good system for us once it gets all the kinks out of it. Believe me.
Okay. All right. And then one more question about the Legislation and Welfare Committee for these fee
Chapters.
increases. Yeah. I mean, are you ready to do that yet? Or are you going to check in and get some more information?
I
first?
already have some feelers out for other cities that I want to get. I want to get at least 3 comparisons. So that same, pretty close to our size city, and then I could present that to you, and I would.
I mean, how much time do you need before we?
I would say
for that.
let me have a week or two.
Okay. All right. Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the building commissioner? Thank you, Mr. Sack. Recreation Director, stop.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Yeah, just to reiterate what the mayor had to say, we're shooting to open the community center for nighttime exercise classes October 12th. We're opening under the guidelines of gyms and fitness venues. So we are just targeting what we can open at this point and limiting that to the weight room with the treadmills, ellipticals, and then all the exercise classes at the back of the building, and then our mirrored exercise room also. Until we get some opening up different opportunities from the governor, that's how we're going to start. We're going to start with the slow phased opening of the center. It appears that the senior center portion, senior programming is still going to be a little ways off. The health commissioner, Ron Graham, he's real hesitant with some of the guidelines that have come down from the governor, specifically COVID testing. Staff and volunteers and any contracted service provider will have to be COVID tested every 2 weeks to open up the senior portion. So it's going to be a little while before all those protocols are ironed out. So that's where we are with those 2 items, and that's about it.
Councilwoman Sloto.
Oh, thanks. So Tim, so you're going to open up, the ellipticals and like the equipment. Do you have somebody there who's going to be like sanitizing these things regularly, or do you have a certain protocol for sanitization and tracking who's coming in and out and all that stuff?
Yes, we're working on a cleaner. Yes, we do have a tracking system that we're going to use at the front desk, people checking in. We were waiting on some of the equipment through the CARES Act. Fire Chief Powers really went to bat for us and got us some hand atomizers that we should be able to, run through the equipment pretty quickly. We're asking participants to help us out, to sanitize the equipment before and after their use, just to help us be as safe as we can with those situations.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for the Recreation Director? Councilman Sakis.
Hey, Tim. So I have a couple questions. So a resident contacted me and just wanted me to go check out the fence at Green Ridge Golf Course. And so I went and checked it out, and I seen some parts of the fence can be repaired. Some parts of the fence need to be replaced. And, so I went and checked it out, but it was brought to my attention that repairing a fence at Green Ridge is like 5th on the list of what needs to be done. So that golf course right now is seeing record numbers this year, like crazy. The greens look beautiful. Everything looks great. But the things that are needed to be addressed are the watering system and the cart path. So my question is, there is money in the budget for Green Ridge that has to be specifically spent at Green Ridge. And so is there going to come a point where we start crossing these things off the list and start getting going so we can eventually get to the fence?
Yeah, sure, Councilman Sakis. We have had quotes for a watering system, and it's anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000 to do something of that nature. So that, eats up a good chunk of your starting fund balance. We are going to this fall get some quotes for cart paths also, because yes, we would like to get some cart paths. That will extend the playability, throughout the year, can get the carts out sooner and leave them out longer. The carts really are a bonus. They're a revenue generator for us. So yes, those are definitely things that we're getting quotes on and trying to make happen. Yes.
Are there grants for those type of things?
Well, yeah, Councilman, I'd have to look into that a little bit further. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. And my next question is, I was just wondering why the recreational, now I don't know if this is your call or not, but why the recreational basketball is not going on, but other surrounding cities have that going on. And our residents have to go to, let's say, Wickliffe or whatever. I mean, I know COVID's out there, the high school's putting on sports and just trying to see why.
Councilman, if you don't mind, I'll answer that for you. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, we obviously took all the hoops down a while ago. When I first put them back up, I put it up maybe a day or two before the governor said it was okay to do so, not realizing that no one else around us did the same. So then we had everyone from Euclid, from Willoughby, from Willowick, from Willoughby Hills, Maple Heights, coming into Wickliffe, making a mess. The parks were destroyed every day. Hold on. The police had to go down there. Ron had to go down there. So then we ended up taking a lot of the hoops back down.
John, you guys are talking about two different things, John.
Right.
Joe's talking about indoor for youth. You're talking about outdoor at the parks.
Okay.
Joe's talking about 1st through 4th grade.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I don't have an answer for you then. Sorry.
No, yeah, youth recreation. It's happening in the surrounding cities, and we just want to know why we're not doing it.
Joe, we've always did it in December and January for our program, the 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th graders. We've had some open gyms in November. So that is not off the table. It's what the Coach Lewis, the head basketball coach for the boys side of things, he's a main cog in that because he gets his team to help out, on Saturday mornings with the program. So it's still being discussed on to what degree we're going to be offering that, but that typically has never started before December. December is always our first shot to do that.
Okay.
Joe, and I guess to answer the question too is other cities like Willowick started at a different time, their basketball programs than Wickliffe always has. And I think that's the difference we'll see. I know that my kids have participated in both cities when they were growing up. So just because of that, because they started at different times. So I did see that post on social media today as well. It's just that it's a different timing. It's not that we're not offering it, as far as I know right now.
I guess I brought it up because baseball for recreation was going on in other cities. So I didn't know if we were just cutting them out altogether, but it makes sense if it's a timing issue.
Yeah, I think so. And baseball was a whole different thing. Their whole entire league, or 80% of their leagues, are of all the other cities playing in the baseball league, for the Wickliffe Baseball League, which is not run by the city, had all folded or were not running this year. So other cities were not participating. So that's why Wickliffe did not participate in it this year.
Got it. All right, that's it.
Any other questions or comments for the Recreation Director? Councilman Jaworski.
Tim, just a thought here. You're talking about these cart paths. Maybe it would behoove us to talk with the city engineer to see if it would be something where we could maybe piggyback off a road contract, get a better price on something like a cart path than it would be just going out to straight up get a quote for a cart path.
Yeah, good idea. I'll talk with Pete.
Just to piggyback off that, it might be the same as if we do the walking track here at Ginger as well.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments for the Recreation Director? Thank you, Mr. Stop. Economic Development Director Drake.
Thank you, Council President. We've been working on more behind the scenes kind of things. The scores for the proposals that were received during the request for proposals were reviewed, and I believe Councilman Jaworski will provide an update on this during his committee report. I followed up with a letter of inquiry that had been submitted to the Cleveland Foundation back in August, and they have not completed their review yet and will be doing so in October. So I anticipate hearing something back from them in October, whether we're invited to make application to them or not. And then also I worked on putting together the small business loan outline and proposed application so that it may be reviewed by Mayor Barbish and Law Director Zealy. So they have that at this time. And so once that's reviewed, we look forward to moving that hopefully forward and providing some relief to the small businesses here in the community. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for the Economic Development Director? Thank you, Ms. Drake.
Thank you.
I will now open the floor for audience participation. This portion of the meeting is intended for the audience to address the council and the mayor, not the directors. Profanity and inappropriate language will not be tolerated. Please respect whoever has the floor and is speaking. If anyone would like to address Wickliffe City Council, please state your name and address for the clerk's record. Each person will have a 5-minute max amount of time. Would anyone like to address Wickliffe City Council? Would anyone like to address Wickliffe City Council? If not, I'll mark audience participation closed. Committee reports. The Finance Committee met at 7:01 p.m. on September 21st, 2020. The purpose of a new fire engine. Present, Bogo, Jaworski, Koski, Levon, Sakis, Saloto. Also present, Mayor Barbish, Law Director Zealy, Police Chief Ice, Engineer Formica, Service Director Strouser, Finance Director Doles, Building Commissioner Stack, and Fire Chief Powers. Fire Chief Powers reminded the committee that his department has reworked their specifications on the new fire engine, and they found one for a total of $560,000. He reminded the community that we already have $500,000 set aside for this purchase, and all we would need is $60,000 from the general fund. Councilman Jaworski asked how the specifications were different from the original specs. The fire chief stated that the new specs were with an aluminum chassis instead of stainless steel, and they would have standard size compartments instead of custom sizes. These were two examples of items that decrease the total spend. The committee recommends to council that they authorize the law director to create an ordinance to allow the finance director to purchase a new fire engine at a price not to exceed $560,000. This item is reported out of committee, meeting adjourned at 7:08 p.m. The committee of the whole met on September 21st, 2020 at 7:09 p.m. The purpose was city visionary integrator position. Present, Bogo, Jaworski, Koski, Levon, Sakis, Saloto. Also present, Mayor Barbish, Law Director Zealy, Police Chief Ice, Engineer Formica, Service Director Strouser, Finance Director Doles, Building Commissioner Stack, and Fire Chief Powers. Mayor Barbish told the committee that after some thought, he has decided not to entertain creating this position. He said he would make some internal changes that did not need council approval. Councilman Jaworski asked what internal changes the mayor was intending on making. The mayor stated he would reallocate current resources of personnel to help Chief Powers with grants and city planning. This item is reported out of committee. Meeting adjourned at 7:10 p.m. Respectfully submitted. Councilman Jaworski.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. The Economic Development Committee met on September 21st. President Jaworski, Sakis, Saloto, and Bogo. Also present Levon, Koski, Mayor Barbish, Drake, Formica, Ice, Strouser, Power, Doles, and Sack. Meeting called to order at 7:10 p.m. and it was to discuss the RFPs for Euclid Avenue. Drake explained the scoring system committee members are to use in judging the 4 RFPs. While the city went out for base and supplemental bids, Drake and Mayor Barbish want the committee to focus on the base bid. The city is hoping we will be able to apply for a grant from the Cleveland Foundation to cover the costs within the proposals. Councilman Sakis had a question about the prior study, which was conducted in the early 2000s. Barbish explained the old study was focused more on streetscape, and this one will focus more on economic development. Councilwoman Saloto said the committee should think more comprehensively about the entire city, and she said the process will be worth it and thinks the committee members should also look at results from similar cities when judging the RFPs. Councilman Bogo said he was on board with the project. Councilman Jaworski asked the committee to turn in their RFPs to Drake by late Thursday afternoon so they could be averaged out and scored. Jaworski will meet with Drake and Barbish to discuss the results. At the next council meeting, this topic will be referred to the Finance Committee for consideration. Also at the next council meeting, the Economic Development Committee will schedule another meeting to formally discuss the results of this committee and make a recommendation to the Finance Committee. This item will remain in committee. Meeting adjourned at 7:34 p.m.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor, just a quick question. Are we ready to meet on the 2021 budget or the Lakeland Service Department garage yet for next week or no?
No, not next week, but very soon. Maybe I guess not the week after. Probably the week after. I'm not looking at my calendar at the moment.
Okay, so like the 19th of October or whatever?
That should be good. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure before we move on for this meeting.
Yep.
Okay. No other committee reports. We'll move on to commission reports. Seeing no old business, we'll move on to new business A. Mayor's appointment of new Parks and Rec commission member.
Yes, thank you, sir. With council's approval, I'll appoint Patrick Ebner to the Parks and Rec, filling a vacancy to expire December 31st, 2021. So someone could make a motion to accept the mayor's appointment.
Yeah, I move to reaffirm the mayor's appointment of Patrick Ebner to the Parks and Rec Commission with the expiration date of December 31st, 2021.
I second.
Moved by Councilman Levon, seconded by Councilman Sakis to reaffirm the mayor's appointment of Patrick Ebner to the Parks and Recreation Commission with a term to expire December 31st, 2021. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski.
Yes.
Thank you, Levon.
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Mayor's appointment of a new Board of Zoning Appeals member.
And yes, this is also filling a vacancy. So with council's approval, I'll appoint Michelle Rush to the Board of Zoning Appeals with the same term to expire December 31st, 2021.
I'll make a motion to reaffirm the mayor's appointment of Michelle Rush to the Board of Zoning Appeals Commission with a term to expire December 31st, 2021.
Second.
Moved by Council President Levon, seconded by Councilman Sakis to reaffirm the mayor's appointment of Michelle Rush to the Board of Zoning Appeals Commission with a term to expire December 31st, 2021. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Koski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
Yes.
Ordinances. You know what? Before we go into ordinances, I'm going to go back to real quick before we get into that. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the finance director to purchase, or authorize law director to create an ordinance to allow the finance director to purchase a new fire engine at a price not to exceed $560,000.
Second.
Moved by Council President Levon, seconded by Councilman Jaworski to authorize the law director to create an ordinance to allow the finance director to purchase a new fire engine at a price not to exceed $560,000. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis.
Yes.
Thank you. Saloto,
Yes.
Sorry about that. I forgot to do that after my committee report. Ordinances.
Ordinance number 2020-39, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of one new 2019 International Chassis Horton ambulance with decontamination systems through the State of Ohio Office of Administrative Services, state purchasing for use by the Wickliffe Fire Department, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-39 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilman Bogo to adopt ordinance 2020-39 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Ordinance number 2020-40, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of one new Sutphen Monarch pumper through the State of Ohio Office of Administrative Services, state purchasing, used by the Wickliffe Fire Department, and declaring an emergency.
Adoption.
I'm sorry, we need a
Second.
suspension. We need a suspension first, not adoption.
Suspension.
Suspension. Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-40 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Adopt. Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Kosky, seconded by Councilman Sakis to adopt ordinance 2020-40 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Ordinance number 2020-41, an ordinance providing appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Wickliffe, Ohio for the period beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-41 on third and final reading. Discussion? Please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Kosky to adopt ordinance 2020-41 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
yes,
Ordinance number 2020-42, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio, to transfer expenses from various funds and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Kosky to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-42 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
yes,
Adoption.
second,
Moved by Councilman Bogo, seconded by Councilman Sakis to adopt ordinance 2020-42 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
yes,
Ordinance number 2020-43, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio, to transfer a sum of money from one fund to another and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Suspension.
second,
Moved by Councilwoman Kosky, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-43 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
yes. Adoption,
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Saloto, seconded by Councilman Sakis to adopt ordinance 2020-43 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
yes,
Ordinance number 2020-45, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of
I
one
think you skipped
new.
44. Scott, you got to do
I'm sorry.
44, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I
I
pass
think you
that up?
skipped it.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Ordinance number 2020-44, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of one new 2020 Ford F-250 pickup truck from Valley Ford for use by the Service Department of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
suspension,
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Saloto, seconded by Councilman Sakis to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-44 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
yes. Adoption,
Second.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, moved by Councilwoman Saloto, seconded by Councilman Sakis to adopt ordinance 2020-44 as presented. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
yes,
I had the ordinances in reverse order. Thank you for catching that, Council President. Ordinance number 2020-45, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of one new 2020 Ford F-150 Super Crew Police Responder for use by the Police Department of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio, through the Ohio Department of Administrative Services Cooperative Purchasing Program, and declaring an emergency.
suspension,
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Saloto, seconded by Councilman Bogo to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-45 on third and final reading. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kowski,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
yes.
Option.
Second,
Moved by Councilman Sakis. Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to adopt ordinance 2020-45 as presented. Discussion. Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Ordinance number 2020-46, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of two new 2021 Ford Utility Interceptors Ready for Patrol package for use by the Police Department of the City of Wickliffe, Ohio, with the Ohio Department of Administrative Services Cooperative Purchasing Program, and declaring an emergency.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bogo, seconded by Councilwoman Saloto to suspend the rules of council and place ordinance 2020-46 on third and final reading. Discussion. Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Adoption.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Kosky to adopt ordinance 2020-46 as presented. Discussion. Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto,
Yes.
Resolutions.
Resolution number 2020-20, a resolution recognizing Brian Lako on his retirement from the City of Wickliffe, Ohio as a patrolman for the Wickliffe Police Department, commending his dedicated service and wishing him good fortune and declaring an emergency. I understand that Officer Lako is on Zoom here. Chief Ice, would you like to read the resolution in its entirety?
Certainly. Whereas Brian Lako began his career with the City of Wickliffe as a police officer on June 24th, 1996, and served the citizens of Wickliffe honorably for 24 years before retiring on September 12th, 2020. And whereas during his career, Patrolman Lako received numerous commendations and letter of appreciation for his dedicated service and demeanor. And whereas Patrolman Lako was involved in many community policing events throughout his career to include Police Auction Family Days, National Night Out Against Crime. Whereas on July 22nd, 2005, Patrolman Lako, along with additional Wickliffe police officers, responded to Wickliffe Country Place for a report of a fire. On arrival, the northeast corner of the facility was filled with acrid smoke, which required Patrolman Lako to break out windows to get the patrons out. Patrolman Lako's put himself in harm's way to save the lives of others. Whereas on April 30th, 2008, Patrolman Lako's sense of urgency resulted in the result of two juveniles responsible for a 20-day crime spree, which cleared criminal complaints in 8 cities in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. And whereas on July 1st, 2018, Patrolman Lako overheard radio traffic from Eastlake Police that a male had collapsed during a 5K charity run. Patrolman Lako rushed to the scene, retrieved an AED from his patrol car. The AED administered a shock to the male, and the male began to breathe on his own. Patrolman Lako's decisive action helped save this male's life. Whereas upon retirement, Brian will spend time with his family, his wife Tressa, children Aaliyah, Aunt Andrew, Elena, Gabriel, and Alyssa, and will devote his time to his passion for motorcycling and cycling. Now therefore be resolved by the Council of the City of Wickliffe, County of Lake, State of Ohio. Section 1 reads that the mayor be and hereby authorized to extend to Brian Lako the sincere thanks and appreciations of council and the residents of the City of Wickliffe for his years of dedicated service. A copy of this resolution shall be presented to him and spread upon the records of City Council. These are nice documents and I really appreciate it. But I mean, you can imagine anybody who spends 24 years in a career, this is just barely touches the surface of what the dedication that Brian had for the community. So I'd like to wish him well in his retirement.
Okay, you open one and I'll open one.
Suspension.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilwoman Kosky to suspend the rules of council and place resolution 2020-20 on third and final reading. Discussion.
Thank you very much for your
Well-
years of service.
Councilwoman, okay. Any further discussion? Councilwoman Sloto,
Yes, thank you very much from, I know the whole entire city, but certainly thank you from my end for all of your service.
any further discussion on the suspension? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes,
Saloto.
Yes,
adoption.
second,
Moved by Councilman Sakis, seconded by Councilman Bogo to adopt resolution 2020-20 as presented. Discussion? Councilman Sakis.
Great job, Officer Brian Lako. Great approachable police officer. He's also good to the residents. He's let me off on a couple warnings back in the day. So just great appreciation here. And I know the whole community really respects what you do and you as an officer and a person. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up on that and say this comes from both my wife, Amy, and I would like to personally thank Patrolman Lako for his years of service to the city and wish him the best in his future endeavors. Any further discussion on the adoption?
Would just like to wish him a happy retirement, Ed.
Thank you, Councilman Jaworski.
Happy, happy, happy.
Thank you, Councilman Bogo. Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes,
Saloto.
yes,
Other legislation? Miscellaneous? Adjournment?
make a
I make a
motion.
motion, we adjourn.
Moved by Councilman Bogo, seconded by Councilman Sakis to adjourn the meeting. Discussion? Sandy, please call the roll.
Bogo,
Yes.
Jaworski,
Yes.
Kosky,
Yes.
Levon,
Yes.
Sakis,
Yes.
Saloto.
yes.
All right, thank you, guys. No meeting next Monday, as far as I know. We will see you guys on the 12th. Thank you, guys.
God bless. Good night.
Thank you, guys.